You know that moment. She's right there in front of you. Same room, same couch, same relationship. And somehow, she feels miles away. You ask a simple question. Maybe it's late. Maybe the dishes are still in the sink. Maybe the argument wasn't even that big. But something feels off. Her answers are shorter. Her eyes don't stay with you the way they used to. And the silence between sentences feels heavier than anything either of you could say. And in your head, it's loud. Why does this feel so hard now? Why won't she just tell me what's really going on? Did I miss something? Is she pulling away? Am I losing her? Am I the problem? Here's the truth most people never hear. She's not always hiding the truth because she wants to deceive you. She's hiding it because the truth doesn't feel safe enough to say out loud. Read that again, man, because that changes everything. You're not failing at love. This is not proof that you chose the wrong person, and it does not mean the connection is gone. Sometimes what looks like distance is really protection. Sometimes what sounds like nothing is actually years of unspoken longing with no safe place to land. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand the 5 questions she'll almost never answer honestly, what she's actually feeling beneath the surface, and how to ask in a way that brings you closer instead of pushing her further away. Let's get into it. Most couples believe honesty is just about asking direct questions. But the real truth is, people only tell the truth they feel emotionally safe enough to survive after saying. That's the part no one talks about. Because in relationships, your partner's nervous system is reading you before their mind can catch up. Before the words, before the logic, before the explanation. So when a woman avoids a hard truth, deflects, softens, shrugs, says, "It's fine," or gives you the version that won't start a fight, most of the time that is not random. It is patterned. It is protective. And it usually lives inside the emotional climate between you. Most couples think the problem is communication. Wrong target. Not more talking. Not better wording. Not one perfect late-night conversation that magically fixes everything. But a relationship where the truth no longer feels dangerous to tell. Because when safety leaves a relationship, love doesn't always disappear. It goes underground. What looks like avoidance is often overwhelm. What looks like dishonesty is often fear. What looks like emotional distance is often someone thinking, if I say what I really feel, this is going to get worse. And honestly, that's why so many couples stay stuck in the same cycles for years. One person wants clarity. The other wants safety. One pushes for answers. The other shuts down to survive the pressure. That doesn't mean she doesn't care. It means the truth has become expensive. So if you want real connection, you have to stop listening only to her words and start understanding the conditions her heart is responding to. And here's what changes everything. The questions that never get honest answers usually reveal the deepest unmet needs in the relationship. Let's go through them. 1. Are you happy with me? The loaded question. Most couples ask this question when they already feel the distance. You can hear it in the tone. It's not curiosity. It's fear looking for reassurance. And most couples don't realize how impossible that makes the question to answer honestly. Because if she says, "Not really," she risks hurting you. She risks a fight. She risks your shutdown, your defensiveness, or that subtle shift where suddenly she becomes the villain for having feelings. So instead, she says what keeps the room stable. "I'm fine. I'm just tired." Of course I am. But beneath the surface, she may be feeling something much more complicated. Maybe she still loves you, but she doesn't feel close to you. Maybe she's grateful for you, but lonely with you. Maybe she's been emotionally carrying too much for too long, and now even simple conversations feel heavy. Most people in relationships think happiness is a yes or no question. But happiness in long-term love is rarely that clean. It's layered. It's seasonal. It's tied to connection, repair, attention, and whether someone feels emotionally alone inside the relationship. Her nervous system might be quietly saying, "I don't know how to tell you I miss you when you're sitting right here." Here's the disconnecting version. You ask, "Are you happy with me?" She pauses. "Why are you asking that?" You say, "Just answer me." She says, "Yes." And neither of you feels better. Now here's the connecting version. You say, "I've been feeling some distance between us lately. I'm not asking you to make me feel better. I just want to understand what this has been feeling like for you." Do you hear the difference? One question demands reassurance. The other creates presence. One says, "Protect me from your truth." The other says, "I can handle your truth." And when you do that, the walls between you start to come down without either of you having to force them. 2. Do you still love me? The wrong question to the right fear. This is where it gets really interesting, because most couples ask this when what they really mean is, "I can feel you slipping away, and I don't know how to stop it. That fear is real. But the question still misses the deeper truth. Most couples assume love is the thing that disappears first. Usually, it isn't. Not love, not chemistry, not commitment, but safety, softness, and emotional access. That's what starts to drift. A woman can still love you and not feel open with you. She can still care deeply and feel completely exhausted by the relationship dynamics. She can still choose you and also feel too hurt, too guarded, or too disconnected to express love in a way you recognize. So when you ask, "Do you still love me?" you're asking her to summarize an entire emotional ecosystem with one sentence. And most of the time, her answer won't really tell you what you need to know. Because the more honest question is this: do you still feel safe, seen, and emotionally close to me? But here's what nobody explains. Criticism, repeated dismissal, emotional inconsistency, or unresolved resentment can make love go quiet without making it disappear. Like a fire buried under ash. Still there, just not warming anyone. Her inner world may be whispering, "I still love him. I just don't know how to reach him anymore." Here's the disconnecting version. You say, "Do you still love me or not?" She says, "Why would you ask me that?" You say, "Because you don't act like it." And now the whole conversation becomes about defense instead of truth. Now the connecting version. You say, "I'm not asking for reassurance. I'm trying to understand whether something between us has felt harder to access lately." Or even simpler, "Do you still feel close to me?" Bro, that question lands differently. Because this isn't a communication hack. This is what emotionally mature people do when they care more about the truth than about getting comfort fast. And that's the shift that turns a relationship that feels like interrogation into one that feels like home again. 3. What's wrong? The question that usually comes too late. Here's the part no one talks about. By the time most couples ask, "What's wrong?" something has already been wrong for a while. That question often shows up at the end of a long pattern of missed signals. The shorter texts, the flatter voice, the decreased affection, the tiny disappointments that never got repaired. The moments she reached for you emotionally and felt you turn away, get defensive, or go practical instead of present. So when you finally ask, "What's wrong?" she says, "Nothing." Not because nothing is wrong, but because too much is. Most couples think silence means she doesn't know what she feels. Sometimes she knows exactly what she feels. She just doesn't believe saying it will lead to repair. And that is a completely different problem. What looks like stonewalling is often someone who has been so overwhelmed for so long that silence is the only protection they have left. Your nervous system in conflict is like a smoke detector. It cannot always tell the difference between tension and danger. So after enough painful interactions, even a simple question can sound like a trap. Inside, she may be thinking, "I've tried to say this before, and it only made me feel more alone." Here's the disconnecting version. You say, "What's wrong now?" She says, "Nothing." You roll your eyes. Clearly something is. And just like that, her body leaves the conversation before her mouth does. Now the connecting version. You say, "You don't have to explain it perfectly. I can just sit here with you for a second if something feels heavy." Or, "I may have missed something. If I did, I want to understand it without defending myself." Man, that changes the whole emotional temperature. Not pressure, not fixing, not dragging the truth out of her, but making it safe enough to emerge on its own. And when you do that, she stops feeling like she has to protect herself from the conversation and starts feeling like the conversation might finally protect the relationship. 4. Why are you pulling away? The question that misses the injury. And this is the one most couples never figure out, because most couples see withdrawal as the problem. But withdrawal is usually the symptom. Something happened before the distance. Usually not one big betrayal, usually 100 small moments. A missed bid for connection here, a cold response there, a joke that hit a bruise, an argument never cleaned up, a need that started feeling embarrassing to keep repeating. Emotional drift in a relationship isn't like a wall, it's like scar tissue. It forms slowly over unresolved moments that were too small to justify a breakup, but too painful to keep pretending didn't matter. So when you ask, "Why are you pulling away?" it can sound like blame, like you've noticed the distance, but not the wound beneath it. And she feels that. Most people in relationships want closeness, but when closeness starts to feel unsafe, distance becomes regulation. That's the anxious avoidance cycle in plain English. One person reaches harder, the other withdraws further. Both feel unseen. Both are protecting themselves. Both still want connection. Her internal monologue might sound like, "I'm not pulling away because I don't care. I'm pulling away because caring like this has started to hurt." Here's the disconnecting version. You say, "Why are you being distant?" She says, "I'm not." You say, "You obviously are." Now she has to defend the symptom instead of reveal the pain. Here's the connecting version. You say, "I can feel you stepping back, and instead of assuming why, I want to ask what hasn't felt good between us lately." Or, "If distance has felt safer than closeness lately, I want to understand that." That is a different level of emotional literacy, because this isn't a trick for avoiding conflict. This is what it looks like when someone learns to love without making the other person carry all the emotional risk. And that's when your partner stops feeling like a puzzle to solve and starts feeling like a person you can finally meet again. 5. What do you need from me? The question she doesn't trust anymore. And here's what changes everything. This sounds like a healthy question, and sometimes it is. But for a lot of women, it lands late. Most couples wait until disconnection is obvious before asking what the other person needs. By then, the need has usually already been repeated, softened, hinted at, swallowed, joked about, cried over, and buried. So when you ask, "What do you need from me?" she may say something small. "Nothing. I don't know. Just help out more. Just communicate better." But that's rarely the deepest answer, because the real answer is often harder to say and more vulnerable. "I need to feel chosen without begging for it. I need consistency. I need you to stay emotionally available when I'm upset, instead of disappearing into defensiveness. I need repair after conflict. I need to stop feeling like my pain inconveniences you." That kind of honesty takes enormous courage. Most couples hear needs as criticism. That's the trap. So the partner with the need starts editing it down until it no longer sounds needy, intense, dramatic, or hard to respond to. Not more effort, not grand gestures, not one perfect date night, but reliable emotional presence in the moments that usually go cold. That's what she's often asking for without saying it directly. And honestly, when she doesn't answer this question honestly, it may be because some part of her is thinking, "What's the point of saying it again if nothing really changes?" Here's the disconnecting version. You say, "What do you need from me?" She says, "I don't know." You shrug. "Well, I can't help if you don't tell me." And now her loneliness gets handed back to her as responsibility. Now the connecting version. You say, "I want to stop making you translate your pain into perfect words before I take it seriously." Or, "You've probably been showing me your needs in ways I haven't fully understood. I want to get better at seeing them." That right there, that is turning toward. Because intimacy isn't built in the big moments. It's built in the 30-second ones. The ones where you look up, stay soft, and let the other person feel that their inner world is real in your presence. And when you do that, the relationship stops feeling like a place where needs go to die and starts feeling like a refuge where truth can finally breathe. So no, this isn't really about 5 questions. It's about the emotional reality beneath them. Because the truth is, she usually knows when you're asking from fear. She knows when the question is loaded. She knows when honesty will cost her more than silence. And her nervous system responds before her words ever do. But that doesn't mean you're powerless. Far from it. When you understand this, you stop chasing answers and start creating safety. You stop forcing clarity and start becoming someone clarity can actually come to. You stop reacting to the surface and start responding to what's real beneath it. That changes who you are in love. This isn't a checklist. It's an invitation to show up differently, more grounded, more present, more emotionally available. And when you do that, your partner will feel the difference before you even say a word. Because these aren't tips for getting better responses. They're the beginning of becoming the kind of partner who makes honesty feel safe again. If this hit you in a real way, let it sit with you. Don't rush past it. And if you know there's been distance in your relationship lately, maybe the next breakthrough doesn't start with a smarter question.